Good morning, everyone. It is 7 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, which means there is a likelihood that there could be changes to the game, and there are. We have a data slate this morning. It is 7 a.m. I am tired. I did not sleep well. I read most of the data slate at 3:30 a.m. I woke up. I said, I should shower and do my hair, and instead, I came and read the data slate stuff. So, I have strong opinions. My opinions, they are strong. They are filled with girth. That doesn't sound okay. Noah has overslept. He will be here shortly, but I did not want to keep the people waiting. So, originally our plan for today was we were going to go through chaos lists that Noah and I came up with. I have 3 from World Eaters from my 3 favorite detachments. I think all 3 of them are fully competitive. I think that they are 4-in-1 lists at the very least, so I'm really excited to tell Noah about those. And then Noah has EC lists that he would like to cover. So, yeah, so it should be a lot of fun, but we are going to delay all of that to talk data slate. And one of the more interesting things is I had been told by everybody who could, oh yeah, they're going to take away, they're taking away Overwatch. Yeah, you're not going to be able to re-roll. You're not going to be able to re-roll an Overwatch. I don't see that. If it's in there, I missed it. I would love someone to point it at me, but I don't see it. I also don't see really any other broad, huge changes, which I think is pretty interesting because that doesn't fit the rumors that I had heard at all. The game itself, some of the armies had their rules significantly re-rolled. The things that have happened to Ynnari, I have strong opinions. So I think that the stratagems that can be used more than once per phase per turn, that stuff doesn't really change anything. Just in general, I don't see anything that allows, or excuse me, that stops that. I don't see anything that does that. So, yeah, that's interesting. Since I'm by myself, I will ask the audience to let me know if my audio is okay, because I wouldn't honestly know. You might literally not be able to hear me, and I would have no input from that. So, we will continue to do a little soft shoe as we wait for Noah. That's the kind of the old saying for when you have to entertain someone, when you have to get on stage and vamp or delay. It's kind of, they always talk about doing a little soft shoe, doing a little dance. So, this is my little dance. I don't want to talk about Ynnari until Noah's here. So, my broad takeaways from the data slate is neat to give armies new detachments. I love that. I think that giving out 3 or 4 every data slate's not overwhelming. I think that's great. For those that are just waking up, Dark Angels has one, Tyranids has one, somebody else has one. Like, guys, I just, like all of you, like many of you, I am just waking up. So let me remind myself here who the other detachment is. Oh yes, there's a Chaos Space Marine one as well. So that is super neat. Points changes. As I went through, I thought that Sisters was really interesting. I know that they think that Sisters is underperforming, and they'd like to buff it more. I would love a Sisters player to tell me if they think it's enough. Whenever I see that kind of 1Z, 2Z, 5Z, 10Z changes throughout an army and no significant change to the rules, I always think, I understand that you're trying to push this army, but did you ask yourself if 100-point unit was the difference? I think in the Sisters, their Repentia unit is 85 points. So if you said to a Sisters player, were you 1 Repentia away from dominance? Was that what was missing? I would guess they would say no. But at the same time, you can't underestimate widespread points changes. You just can't undervalue that. It's always a little bit hard for my brain, though, when you're like, oh, this unit that they take 3 of went up 10 points. Okay, so you raise the army 30 points. How significant is that really? But over time, it's shown that it is significant. That's a thing that's just happened. So I thought the Sisters changes were interesting in that regard. I thought the Imperial Guard changes were pretty minor and fine. We'll talk about all of these individually. I'm just kind of giving you my top thoughts as we wait for Noah. I didn't see any of the new Chaos stuff significantly changed. EC got nerfed. Well, EC had points changes. Noah is an EC expert. I am not. We'll let him talk about what actually happened. I like the Tyranids points changes, even though they basically handed out points to every listing that exists. I don't like what happened to Ynnari, but we're going to talk about that. I can both think that Ynnari is bad for the game and not like the way they fixed it. Those two things, the Venn diagram does in fact overlap. I can have both quantum states at the same time. I am not an AdMech expert, but boy, did that seem like a lot of points changes. Noah is an AdMech expert, so I'm going to look forward to hearing what he has to say about that. Let's see. What else can we talk about while we wait for Noah? They did change some rules for the armies, for Sisters, for AdMech. I'm going to look forward to hearing what Noah has to say about that. One of the things that I thought was super interesting is I thought that Blood Angels were doing well. I hadn't paid a lot of close attention to that, but I thought that they were doing well. They're certainly wildly aggressive. They had pretty significant points deductions, and one of their rules changed to basically update the 6-inch ability, which is fine. They give lots of stuff to Chaos Space Marines, the generic Chaos Space Marines. Weird timing. It's hard to imagine for me right now that someone would be like, oh, I'm going to play Chaos Space Marines. Yeah, I'm just going to play Chaos Space Marines because the World Eaters book, the EC book, and the Death Guard book, and the T-Sons book, none of those are good enough. So I'm going to play generic, boring CSM. I don't think that that's a thing. Unless you're more of a lore or this is what I have and I love my army focus player, which I would never, ever be mean about. Everybody should enjoy the game the way they want to. But I thought the CSM changes in that regard were funny. I looked at the points reductions, and one of the things that I thought was funny is the Forge Fiend still being 180 points for CSM. It is 150 points for World Eaters, and it is much better. It has better rules for World Eaters, so I think it's funny to make decisions like that. Yeah, the Forge Fiend, it should only be good over here. It shouldn't be good over here. Make sure the rules are different. Make sure the points are different. Let's make sure that nobody can follow this, and it's wildly confusing. So that is a thing that I don't agree with. Of course, I ranted previously about different Chaos armies having different rules for the same named unit. I do not love that. No real new Chaos changes except for one thing, for points. And I thought this was hysterical. They went through and they said, do you have Nurglings? They're more expensive. And I think that that's just great. I think 35 points to 40 points is a hilarious nuance that does hurt people who want to take 1 million units of Nurglings, which Chuck has done. And Chuck has reported back to me that that is not the way. But they have said nonetheless, don't do that. That's not okay. We're going to very slightly nominally increase the points of this unit. And they did it throughout them all. They said they said Demons Detachment, Death Guard Detachment. Let's make sure that Nurglings aren't accidentally missed anywhere since they're the real problem that the meta has. I thought that was pretty funny. I actually, at 3 o'clock this morning when I was reading this originally, I giggled at that a little bit. Poor Nurglings. It's really just unfortunate. Who have I not given my high-level thoughts of? Drukhari had points reductions. I don't see how it's possibly enough. I'm going to love to talk about that in more detail with Drukhari players. I think that they've got significant problems right now, and I don't think a couple of points reductions is going to get the job done. It's similar to other armies. It's like, hey, if you had one more unit, is that going to make the difference? And one more unit does matter a lot. I don't want to undervalue one more unit. That extra unit is a thing that could be doing actions. It could be doing damage to your opponent. Going from 14 drops to 15 drops is significant. It matters, right? However, I don't value that to the degree that GW does. I don't think that's the way you solve things. And that's because I don't think giving someone an extra unit actually fundamentally improves the game. I think it says, the points are slightly wrong here. Fine. I like when they fundamentally change the rules. And I think that usually when they do that, I like it. It's like to the benefit of the game. I think that the 6-inch deep strike ability versus 3 just made the game better. They said, hey, anywhere we've written this, override it. Great way to do it. I'm surprised we didn't really see those this morning. All of the rumors that I had heard included those. You're not going to get an extra. I heard rumors like you're not going to get your extra CP from your things that generate it without also rolling a leadership test. Weird. Don't like it. Didn't enjoy it. I don't really know. I am waiting for Mr. Noah, who is going to be on any second. The Drukhari points reductions are wiggle room points reductions. Allow me to upgrade a Rack squad to a Harlequin squad in Reapers. That's good. Guy, I think there was also a change to Reaper's wager, right? Was it a buff? I wasn't able to pick that up. Let me see if I can vamp a little bit longer, but I could have sworn I saw a change to Reaper's wager. I don't see it now, but I could have sworn I saw it. I guess we will find out. That's what we will do as we are waking up here. Oh, evidently you always reroll hits of 1 now. I'm sorry. Having you always reroll hits of 1 saves on pain token economy. That's what I thought I saw. I thought I saw a Reaper's wager improvement. Hey, it's Noah. Let's bring Noah in, everybody. Hi, Noah.
Hi, I'm sorry. I slept in. I had a weird morning this morning.
Yeah? Well, we've had a big morning, and I got on here by myself, and
disappointed!
But I'll get over it. Hi.
I'm sorry to leave you hanging.
No, it's all right. I vamped. It's a thing. So I woke up this morning at 3:30 or so, and my buddy Guy messaged me and said, we have a data slate. And I thought, well, that's all right. I've slept enough. So I got out my phone and I read at 3:30 this morning. I giggled at one thing, which I shared already, Noah, which is them saying that Nurglings aren't okay in Demons and Death Guard.
I laughed. That's so hard.
Really?
I also woke up at like 3 something. I looked at it for a little bit, then went back to sleep. I wasn't feeling well. That's the sleeping thing. But yeah, I also saw that and thought it was ridiculous.
Really funny. So I just was vamping a little bit, but I think we can do a more appropriate job now. I told everybody that the agenda is thrown out. We're going to talk data slate as long as we talk data slate. And when we're done with that, I'm going to tell you about World Eaters armies and my 7 games with World Eaters that I've played. That's right, guys, 7. I almost played 8. 8 would have been better. I acknowledge that 8 would have been better. But next week I will have played 8. So now it's time to talk changes. Big changes, Noah. Huge changes. We were told there was a change to rerolls in Overwatch. We were told there was a change to how CP is generated. Neither of those things are in there.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. Unless I'm missing them entirely, they're not in the article and they're not at the top of the data slate. So if I'm an ignorant fool, I'm sure you'll tell me. Hey, good morning, John Johnson. The sassiest Nurgling was GW all along. God, that's great. So Noah's reading the top of the data slate to find out why the information that he had heard in the rumors is wrong. So we're letting him do that. But I didn't see either of those changes, and it goes with a lack of universal changes, frankly, to the game. They say, hey, if you have a They did go through and they errated armies where, how do I word this? If you have a Space Marine Captain ability, you have a character that has an aura that makes a CP1 cheaper. Space Marine Captain, Demon Prince, Autarch. If you have that person, it's once per battle round now.
Yeah, that's
And-
one of the things that I had said. That was one of the CP changes. I'm looking to see if they modified, like made Marty and Septim take a leadership test.
No, but they did change him. It's under the Space Marine errata,
Yeah,
but we'll get there. So the ones per turn, I don't care. The ones per battle round, I don't care about that at all. Eldar was already written that way. It was just written that way per Autarch. So if you had two Autarchs, one could do it on top of round, one could do it on bottom of round, and you had to kind of organize that. Fine that they changed that. They wrote it correctly in World Eaters. The Demon Prince is very clear that he's only doing it once per battle round. So there's a number of places where that's the case. So I don't think I care. Noah, do you care?
so I think the reason it's relevant is because you would get into a situation where you would like a unit would charge, turn on Lance, and Gladius beat the crap out of you. Then you would punch it. In response, it would turn on Armor of Contempt for free.
Yep.
And then on the next turn, you would try to charge it with something else, and it would turn on Armor of Contempt again for free. I think that's the kind of the feel bad interaction, but
Yep.
I think this just makes it in line on what we all kind of understand.
Well, it's your Space Marine Captain gives you 10 more CP a game, right? That's the problem. That's too much CP. So I think that change is fine. They didn't put it at the top of the data slate, but my eyeballs tell me as I scan through errata that they went to look for places where that was the case and hit it. So that's great.
No change to Overwatch kind of sucks, but I actually don't really mind rerolls in Overwatch, but that would have been a cool change.
Where is it? Oh, you're saying that you don't mind that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay. I think full rerolls in Overwatch is kind of toxic. I think that there's a lot of armies that are so terrified of Overwatch that it greatly affects their ability to play the game. Eldar has this problem, and the only reason it's not awful is because of battle focus tokens, giving them the ability to ignore Overwatch once per turn. But in general, you deal with Drukhari, with Harlequins, with anything that has close combat in particular that's T3. And they're terrified of full reroll Overwatch because it only takes like 5 shots to wreck the unit. 5 wounds to wreck the unit.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I guess it kind of feels like full reroll Overwatch is like the same, if not better, but same as like a unit, walking in front of a unit of warp spiders. You know what I mean? Like also getting blasted. So I don't know. I don't mind so much, but I understand that. The thing though is that you can play around it. There is play around it, so I don't mind it that much. I think there's a bunch of effects that they're doing a good job reining in that are like things you can't really play around. So to recap, what we got today was we have a data slate that changes a lot of the factions. I read through it a little bit, and there are a lot of changes. We got
I was just going to have us go through faction by faction, Noah.
Yeah, we got at least. I'm talking about not the changes. I think we got at least one new unit. AdMech got a new unit today. They got the data cards for a new unit, the Servitor Battleclade.
Okay.
We got 3 more detachments.
CSM, Dark Angels, and Tyranids, unless I'm missing one.
And we got point changes. So where do you want to start?
I disagree. I'm disappointed. I don't think the changes are that significant. And I think that some of the biggest problems were handled wrong and some of the other biggest problems were ignored. So I completely disagree from Noah, and now I get to be sassy through the next 45 minutes of talking about this, which is exciting to me.
I do not disagree with your last 2 points, that some of these things were handled wrong, etc. But I actually...
yeah, that's okay. My favorite faction should probably be dead. That's okay. That's probably fine.
I know I was saying I agree with those two. So I agree
Yeah.
with you that it got handled wrong. I do think that quite a lot of incredibly significant changes were made, which we'll get into when we go.
Okay.
And I'll explain why I think so.
All right, let's go faction by faction. So we'll start with. Well, let me bring up the data slate. I mean, I don't need to share my screen or anything. Everybody knows where to find it. First up is Sisters. Now, Sisters are one of those factions where the people that play it are what I think of as like specialists. They're like the person you have on your like. They're like your recon sniper guy in your unit, a video game unit where everybody else is running at the enemy. Like Sisters players know what they do really, really well. That's what they know. So for me to look at these Sisters changes and say that I understand them to any degree, I'm just going to own that I don't.
Okay.
So Noah, do you have a feel for what this means to Sisters players?
Yeah. So Zephyr. So the biggest thing is just Zephyr and Retributors who are already being taken got buffed. The detachment rule change, I don't. Okay. I'll be honest, I don't understand its full breadth. It seems fine.
That too.
The Zephyrim and considering Zephyrim and Retributors were already in almost every list.
Yeah, Zephyrim for sure.
The fact that they both got very good buffs just now. And we'll see how it compares to points. I think just actively just raised up every Sisters list by at least a small amount.
Okay. They also had pretty significant points changes. Let me bring that up. Let's just go. We can just go back and forth and do each faction. So Castigator down 10, Immolator down 10, Judith down 10, Paragons down 10, Repentia down 10 for 5, 10, another 10 for, or actually. Oh yeah, you don't keep the 10. Okay. Retributors down 10, Seraphims down 5 and 10, Triumph of St. Catherine down 15. Pretty significant points changes to units that are good, right? The Castigator hasn't been bad in a long time. Repentia and Retributors, like you said, Repentia and Seraphim were in every list. The Triumph was in lots of lists that I had seen. Immolators were in lists. Like a lot of these things are just things that were happening.
And their current favorite like melee unit, the Arcoflagellants, didn't go up. So what I see here is like some things that were being taken less in lists. For instance, the Triumph and a couple of things being taken less got good point drops. Zephyrim got their ability locked to melee only, but got the added rider that if they charge, they get both effects for their ability. Then Retributors just got a straight buff. So I think this is, in general, this is a buff to Sisters across the board. And we'll see probably some increase in performance, hopefully.
Yeah, I think that Sisters is really interesting because I think the game is better when they're good. I think they provide pretty reasonable variety that I enjoy. They are at risk for being another Eldar army, for being another Elf army, because they are T3, relatively fragile, pretty quick. They hit hard. But the last several rules, GW has done a good job making them feel like their own thing, other than Fate Dice and Miracle Dice regularly ending up being similar, which I don't like at all. So I think they've done a good job. I'd love to see more Sisters on the table. I think it feels very different than just playing another Power Armor army, which is what everybody else is. So
yeah, Sisters I think is interesting for those reasons because it is fragile. However, with Miracle Dice and some of the things, it has a way of being surprisingly resilient for the perceived fragility of the army, right?
Right.
You always end up killing less Sisters than you intended to because Miracle Dice and whatever. And then they don't really have a lot of movement tricks. So they're not really a movie, they're not like a tricky move army, other than they have a little bit of built-in, with a Fire and Fade ability on one of their fly units and that kind of stuff. But they have a bunch of other weird tricks that complicate the game. Things like their Suffering Sacrifice ability, mass getting back up with characters, a bunch of stuff. And then
it just feels different playing them.
Right. And then on top of that, though, they also always hit really hard in shooting and really hard in melee, with the very specific units when they want to. So Arcoflagellants hit super hard against in specific settings, and obviously like Morgan Vol with her Nundums, that unit is amazing. Cascaders are great. So I feel like it's I feel like Sisters are kind of getting towards a good place. Brendan McWhorp, who I talked to quite a lot, is probably very excited this morning.
Yeah, he posted in the response to our Reddit post a few days ago, and I said, "How you doing?" And he said, "I'll be doing a lot better after the data slate." So that was his response. Okay, next up we have Custodes. Now I don't want to talk about. Let me do a little bit of funny on the points change. But before we get there, what is your takeaway of? Is there any change in the data slate ability?
No, Custodes have only all the changes they received last time.
Okay, so I want to say now that Noah explained to me what a Lars Custode, what the Terminators do, and how they work, and how obnoxious they can be, and then they're the only unit that got the points reduction.
They're also the least taken unit, and most
Okay.
people don't agree with me.
Okay.
However, every time I play Custodians and play Alaris, I stop mud holes in people. So I'm very excited about this.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, they're down 10. Basically, they're down 5 points a guy. That's the easiest way to explain it, because you can.
Wait, that's like such a negligible amount for a Custodians unit. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Now it only costs 3 billion points. Good job.
These two guy unit costs 150 points. That's like a bike unit. We drop them each 5.
Oh yeah. At the end, you won't have room for another unit, but you will have more room left over in your list, and that will make you feel better.
You just say you look at me like, oh, I can't take any enhancements either.
Yeah. Oh, now I'm at 1970 rather than 1985. Well, that's an improvement. Okay. So making fun of Custodes time. What's that?
3 more data slates will get a new unit.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. We're gonna go ahead and move on from making fun of Custodes now.
Okay.
So next up we have
AdMech.
Now this is so much, right?
Yeah, I can explain. A lot of this is.
Yeah, I'm just going to stop talking now.
A lot of these is carryover from before, but the things the big notice is one of the ongoing laments of AdMech players was that one of our detachments, the detachment that's supposed to be good for the vehicles and stuff, the Cybernetica cohort, that detachment, all it did is give your big robot guys, it gave them the army keyword, so they could get the normal army roll.
Okay.
Silly. So they have changed that. So now the ability reads that we add 2 to the movement of Legio Cybernetica units, so Castellan robots, and a couple other things. In addition, unless that unit is battle shocked, add 1 to the objective control characteristic of models in that unit. In addition to that, we also added the faction Doctrina imperatives to the ability section of the following data sheets: Cybernetica Datasmith and Castellan robots. So what we did is we gave them their faction. Their Castellan robots now get the faction ability, which is great, and then they gave them a relevant detachment ability for the detachment you're supposed to take them in. So now not only do they have Doctrinas, they also go up to movement 8 and +1 OC each.
Okay.
So that's good. I don't know if it makes the detachment playable. The detachment has some good rules. I don't know if it makes the detachment playable, but
Okay.
It's a lot better for sure. And then the Halo Creed detachment has an enhancement that was kind of poorly worded, that it's supposed to support Castellan robots. It's been reworded, and now works the way it's supposed to be, and supports Castellan robots in the Halo Creed detachment. So in general, this upgrade just reads, let's make Castellan robots less crap.
And is that the Halo Creed Battle Clade? Is that what we're talking about, or is that a different thing?
It's 2 detachments. So one is the Cybernetica vehicle one, and the other one is the Halo Creed one. They both have things that are relevant to Castellans.
Okay.
Both of those things got buffs for Castellan robots specifically.
Okay.
I think Castellan robots got a buff of getting the army faction keywords to have the Doctrinus ability, regardless of what detachment they're in.
Okay. And to go with that, Ballistari went down 5 points a model, like we talked about. That's not an amazing amount. The Sidonian Dragoons went down 5 points a model. What?
They're already pretty cheap too, which is
I thought they would. I think that's weird. The Scorpius Disintegrator down 10, and then what really makes me mad? This 15-point deduction on transocular dyad wafers, which hilarious. Minus 15 points on that makes me mad, and here's why. There are a million enhancements in the game that are overpriced. How do you decide that is the one enhancement that deserves like 90% of the enhancements in the game are not being taken, right? Like that one needs to be better.
Well, that's the one that got rewritten.
Okay, and so it needs to be cheaper.
Yeah, so they rewrote it and realized that it wasn't quite as abusable in one way, but it worked better in another way, and they have adjusted the points.
Okay, fair enough. Anything else from Mr. Admech?
No, all of those weapon profile changes and stuff are, well, okay, actually, so there is a little. There's a bunch of weapon profile changes that are very slightly adjusted, and some of them make them incredibly better. The twin Cognis autocannons all got sustained, which is cool. Oh no, these are the old ones.
One to hit. That's cool.
These are all green. Yeah, so these are all old changes. So this is when they upgraded all of the Ballistari weapons and a bunch of other of the weapon profiles to not be shit.
Okay. Astra Militarum. They had already had their firing hot stratagem changed.
I think Eldari is next, actually.
Did I miss Eldari?
Yeah.
I did miss Eldari.
Settled in at the bottom.
Okay.
Go ahead, Colin. Weep for us.
All right. So Ynnari is not okay. There's a bunch of things wrong with it. It feels terrible to play against, and it puts the entirety of balancing Eldar on a complicated rule set that doesn't actually work. Lethal intent, which is the thing where at the end of where if a thing dies near you at the end of the shooting phase, if a thing dies in your army at the end of the shooting phase, you get to do a normal move. I had said, well, this probably shouldn't let you go more than 8 inches or 6 inches, or I said maybe the bikes shouldn't be allowed to do this. The problem is, GW said, what if we triple nerf it? So first of all, they said you can only do a infantry or monster. So no vehicle, no bike. No reason why that change was needed. The second thing they said is, and by the way, it's only within 6 inches of the unit that died. It's a unit only within 6 inches of the unit that died. Third nerf, you only move D6 plus 1.
It's a lot of nerf, Colin.
Nuked from orbit. Completely destroyed. Will not, in my opinion, army faction detachment dead. The other two Ynnari abilities, Fight First is cute, but it doesn't, I guess it's another 3 abilities, but the Fight First is cute, doesn't matter. It's cute, it's cool, but it doesn't, you can't build a detachment on that. I'm gonna fall back and touch you, I'm gonna get shot and move it to the closest unit and touch you. That ability is meaningless because good players aren't gonna let it happen, and you're gonna remind bad players before it happens, right, Noah? Aren't you?
Yeah, you're supposed to.
Yeah. So, Blood Surge is a useless ability in 40k because of that exact reason, which we'll talk about in a lot more detail when we get to World Eaters. So I think that Ynnari now sucks. There's nothing in that army that's better than the other detachments if you don't have lethal intent, because the reality is that the other things were cute and were not holding the army up. Do you agree with that, having played against Ynnari, Noah?
Yeah.
Before I talk about other stuff?
Lethal intent is such a big, I do feel like Eldar, for the most part, have a bunch of really great data sheets in certain things like war spiders and stuff. But I think that lethal intent was a thing that made every single opponent have to play around you in a way that if they made a single mistake, they could instantly lose the game.
Yep, I agree. And
that was incredibly stressful for their opponents and incredibly powerful effect.
Yep.
And losing it so abruptly in a way that it's basically almost not relevant how they nerfed it so badly.
Yeah, it doesn't
And
matter.
so they should have done, I feel like one of those changes would have been okay. Like if we only limited it to monsters and infantry, but kept it the same.
Yeah.
If we only made it 6 inches, but kept it the same.
Even an 8-inch cap would have been fine.
I think
The
any of those
problem,
would have been fine, but I think all
yeah,
three of them is too much.
yeah. Well, and it's you know what, the first two don't matter when you put D6 plus one at the end of it. D6 plus one is such a genital punch to the army. Like, that is so useless, I can't even begin to describe it to you. Anybody who has played Rangers or another unit that has a reactive D6-inch move when somebody gets near to you, it's useful like 15% of the time.
Right.
The vast majority of the time, it's cute and does nothing. D6 plus one, oh man, it's just, this is gross. So they also said, Autarch's too cheap, Fire Dragon's too cheap, Banshee's too cheap, Warlock Conclave too cheap. Ouch. Like, Autarch's one of the best things in the army. Banshee's my favorite data sheet. Fire Dragons, people hate them, but they're required for the army to function because the army doesn't have anti-tank that's competitive otherwise. You could say, oh, what about Fire Prisms? Well, they're a tank that can't hide after it shoots in a meta where things just get wrecked. They move the Fire Prism down 10 points to 150 points. Does not. I do not personally think that does anything. The two changes I like is Warwalkers coming down 10 points. Warwalkers are wildly overpriced compared to basically anything you can put them against. So I like that. I also like Shining Spears getting cheaper. I think that the giant bases on Shining Spears own them pretty bad. I think their abilities are cool. I think that they should be played. The fact that they can't be lethal intended is good. So I like that change a lot. In general, I feel that where Eldar were at previously is that Ynnari was incredibly competitive and the rest of the detachments aren't good enough. Several of the detachments are just flat not good enough. I like the aspects because it gives you a bunch of rerolls, which adds reliability to the army that isn't there today. That army lost a unit per army. I don't think it was so good that matters. I don't think it was so good that it will be like, sure, let's toss an army out. I think Warhost is good, similar to Aspect. I don't think that the other ones are particularly over the top. The Wraith one's perfectly solid. Like, a lot of these are perfectly fine 3-2, 4-1 lists, but they're not 5-1 lists.
There's a fringe build, or what was previously a fringe build, of Seer Council that's been running terror across events, specifically Europe, the UK, and some in the US. But it's not really played by very many people. There's maybe like 5 or 6 players who are like heavily advocating for it. And it's doing really well. So there is like at least one fringe build that by high school players is punching people in the neck. But I think other than that, I think you're completely right. Everything else is kind of like...
They did raise the Conclave by 20 points just to make sure that list also felt some pain.
Okay, cool. Well, at least they shared it around.
Yeah, I am wildly disappointed. I just think that this is stupid beyond all regard. But so was the rules in the first place for Ynnari. What I would have liked to see is if you're going to nerf Ynnari to this degree, Eldar should have had pretty significant points reductions. That's how I think it should have gone.
I agree.
They also nerfed the stuff that I didn't value, the incubi and like the things that people were taking that were not the things Colin was taking, but the Incarn went up, the Ynnari Archon went up, and Ynnari Incubi went up. Really? So like everything is bad for Ynnari.
It's all bad. It's like that meme lately. Everything's as bad as you think it is, and we're all going to die. Astra Militarum, their one change is that Lord Solar found his big boy voice.
I saw that.
Yeah, he can now tell Titanic units what to do.
Yeah, that's cool. They're probably still not good, but that's cool.
There is exactly one player in the world who's benefiting from this. His name is Peter Venner. His Shadow Sword got really excited.
That's hilarious.
Also, one thing a note
I
on
really like Bulgren down points. I think that Bulgren are one of the most fundamentally important units to the entire faction. By the way,
yeah.
for those that don't know, I have like 100 tournament games of Guard. I think that Bulgren are fundamental to the army being competitive in the right way. When you take away any sort of close combat threat of any kind and any sort of durable unit in close combat threat that can go get on an objective, the army gets weakened pretty seriously. Death Cores of Krieg, the 20 is up 15, the 10 is not up. I think that that's for very specific kinds of lists. Death Riders, the horses are down 10 for 5. I don't have a problem with that. They weren't really getting taken from what I've seen. Lehman Russ up 10. I think that's kind of rude. That's kind of a staple of the army. Torox up 10. That's perfectly justified, but hurts because everybody was taking 3. Aquilons went down 10. That's because they're just worse than everybody else. At Deep Strike is kind of how it feels. And Ursula went up 20 points, which is just mean because she's in every list. So that's just saying, hey, everybody started at 1980. So that's
the one change isn't really competitively relevant. So
what's that?
And that combined with their one change or buff isn't really competitively relevant.
Yeah, no, I think that they got hurt pretty good here.
They were a very high performing faction, so it's like it's probably there's probably not a tournament winning player with a tournament winning list who's not going to lose an event because of these points adjustments, but it is going to like make a game tighter.
I think that the difference between 5-0 and 4-1 in a local tournament is probably what we're reading here. I think that they could end up in a situation where they have a bad matchup and they just don't have enough units anymore because they had to drop a couple to make the army work. I don't know. I'm just hypothesizing. That's all.
Okay. Black Templar nothing.
Blood Angels. I thought Blood Angels were doing well. Am I ignorant?
They were. They got a buff.
But they were already doing well, right?
Yeah, but the buff they got was actually so you know how that thing happens sometimes where like a wording in a very similar and one kind of ability is one way, and then in the following codexes, as like the rules team kind of progresses, the wording gets better in a very specific way in similar abilities, and then the faction is left with the shitty version. All we did is went back and gave them the good version. Okay. So previously, OC0 things that would gain OC from a specific condition they would gain OC from one specific condition. So in this case, Death Company gained OC from being within a certain range of chaplains.
Okay.
The new version is Wolfen get OC like Death Company do if they were within 6 inches of a character or 12 inches of a wolf priest. So this is effectively the same 6 inches of any blood.
Why are you talking about Space Wolves suddenly?
Because Space Wolves are the ones who got the good version of the ability.
Oh, okay. So all they did is take the Space Wolf one and give it
back. So now a Death Company doesn't have to be by a chaplain, and you don't actually even have to take chaplains in the list anymore. As long as the Death Company unit is within 6 inches of any Blood Angels character, it now has OC.
Great.
So it was just a quality of life change.
Well, what about 10 points down on Astrabath, 10 points on Baal Predator, 15 points on Mephiston, 10 points on Dante, 20 points on Death Company, 20 points on the Dreadnought.
Those are all down?
These are all down.
That's great. Dante was in every list.
Yeah. Death Company Marines with jump packs down 10 for 5, or still the same 10 for 10. Lamarti's down 10. Sanguinary Guard down 20 to put them at 110 for 3. And then Sanguinary Priest down 15 for 75. I have Sanguinary Guard for sale on everybody if you need them. So that's a ton. That's like you should have 2 more units is what that is.
Yeah, so Blood Angels got a okay buff that gives them some more freedom in list design, and then a bunch of point reduction. So I think we'll probably see some good things from Blood Angels in the following weeks. I think also, given we're moving into a new mission, there's potential for Blood Angels to be relatively well positioned.
Okay. Cast Demons. Oh, excuse me. Their core rules didn't change. Other than in the Scintillating Legion, which is the cool detachment, the new one, right?
Scintillating Legion is the one that took like where you have like the little Zinj tokens when you use them. You give your
that's the one Chuck liked so much that we played against. Okay. And they made a strat that was 2 CP, 1 CP, I guess.
Yeah.
That's my guess. All right, good for them. Demons had the hilarious change of Nurglings going up 5 points for 3 models. Noah and I talked about how funny that is, that they looked through the Chaos Demons, they looked through the points for Chaos Demons and said, I see a problem here. There's something that has to be addressed. So, done with Demons. On to Chaos Knights.
Chaos Knights have no changes. Chaos Marines, I think, is.
Okay. Chaos Marines. Is this we're going to give them everybody else's rules that are written better? Is that what's happening?
A little. So the Demon Prince gets the 3-inch low knob rider that all the other Demon Prince on foot get.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like the idea that like he took a break and he went to like job training.
Yeah.
Like they had like job training and the other Demon Princes were already there and he came in and they're like, dude, look, if you're standing next to other people, you just crouch a little bit and then you look like you're one of them. And he's like, oh my God, I've never thought of that. I'm being really funny, but Noah's so busy reading the next rules, he can't appreciate me.
I think it's hilarious. Sorry.
No. It's too late now, Noah. It's
okay.
The moment has passed.
My bad. So the rest of these changes are a lot of like quality of life changes. So things like Lord Discordance went up in movement and got a better invulnerable save. Vashdor got the ability to be lone op if he's near a tank, which is good, which I think was always like a problem with Vashdor is because like he's not tough enough to just stand in the middle of the table and get shot in the face. So now as long as he's standing near a demon engine tank, then he can be lone op, which is cool. A bunch of specifically Vashdor and Vashdor's attachment abilities got slightly adjusted. So basically what this reads is all the things that were being taken in the vehicle spam chaos army got slightly better. The rules got adjusted in their favor. The anchor unit that they want you to take got slightly better. And the demon princes got generally better for all of the detachments.
The hot take I had before you came on, Noah, was that these changes don't matter because they gave Chaos like 4 amazing codexes that everybody's distracted by. So this is like, hey, we just released Blood Angels and Dark Angels and Salamanders and Black Templars. Oh yeah, the generic codex changed too. Like that's what's happening here.
I agree.
There are points reductions as well, though. There's 10 points on Chaos Lord with Jump Pack, 10 points on Dark Apostle, 15 points on Felgor Beastman, 10 point on Traitor Enforcer, and then the 10 points on Master of Possession just puts him where the World Eaters are what they're paying for him. So, anyways, I'm sorry, no, I interrupted you. Those are the points changes. What were you going to say?
Master of Possession is a wizard. World Eaters don't have a wizard. Are you talking about Master of Execution or Master?
Oh, I am. Thank you for correcting me.
So the only thing I'd say that's relevant is that the detachment that literally all the things I just said only really affect one detachment.
Okay. Is that the good one?
That detachment has been a detachment that on occasion you will play against it and get your ass kicked. Not many people play it. Its rules were right there on the edge of being really good. It's basically just like a vehicle spam, like Leaf Blower list that murders you really hard.
Okay.
Chaos Space Marines has access to a lot of really cool vehicles, right? The little spider, a bunch of demon engines, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I don't know if these rules changes without a point reduction are quite enough.
Okay.
But for a detachment that was already on the fringe of being a good competitive, that was already a good teams list, that could be a good singles list, this is potentially something that we might see actually affect the meta. I don't know for sure, but at least someone who's playing a teams list got really happy.
Okay, cool. All right, before we talk about Dark Angels, it's time for a word from our sponsor. Hi, I really hope you're enjoying our content. For 20 years, I pushed through an exciting career in enterprise software sales. While I had quite a bit of success and fun, I watched as my interest and drive slowly fell away. Since I was 8 years old, I've wanted to entertain. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep creating and tweaking 40K web shows until I land on the combination that the community just can't get enough of. It's an exciting journey and I'm sincerely having the best time. but I can't do it alone. Would you like to help make my journey easier? Well, there's several ways to do that. First of all, I know that you're told all day long to like and subscribe. That's because it really does help. Please do the thing. Next, you can sign up for our Patreon. We have several levels that might work for you. First, just simple Discord access. For nearly a decade, we've run one of the most positive and helpful spaces in all of 40K. Come find out for yourself. That tier also gets our help finding TTS opponents and can join in on our 2 or more private stream games every week that we do only for our patrons. Up a tier, you'll get all our past recordings of our private stream games. You'll have access to the memes, graphics, and presentations we use on our shows. We have a fantasy football league. We have other leagues. We have a weekly TTS drawing to pair you up with your favorite content producer for a game. And you know what else? If you're all in on this journey and you want to do whatever you can, there's a tier for that as well. Thank you and enjoy the show. All right, and we're back. There was a silly photo of you in there, Noah, but you weren't looking.
I was looking and I was listening.
Fair enough. Okay, so moving on to Dark Angels, no changes, other than a new detachment that's neat.
There are changes. There are data sheet changes. Specifically, okay. Lionel Johnson.
Oh, that's true. He did change. He got a big change.
He's basically a brand new unit.
Oh, okay. I have not looked at him yet, so I cannot speak to that.
His stats stayed the same, but they reworked. So, like the Primarch pick, I have 3 abilities. 2 of them are probably bad. I always use this one. That's usually most of the abilities of these Primarch pick 3 kind of situations. His all got modified in one way or another. His first one got completely changed. It now is in your command phase, if the unit is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units, you can just go back into strategic reserve. That's kind of cool and it's also very fluffy. Martial Exemplar stayed mostly the same, but also got the rider of reroll, hit roll, and rune rolls of 1. So he's got a little baby reroll aura, which is cool. Then the Emperor's Shield ability, which is each time an attack is allocated to this model, if the strength characteristic of that attack is greater than the toughness characteristic of this model, subtract 1 from the rune roll. So he also got the kind of baby transhuman. So in general, he got a better army buffing ability. He got a better individual utility ability, and he got harder to kill.
Seth Oster wants you to know that all photos of Noah are silly photos.
This is true.
Yep. I have just read the Dark Angels Codex. I somehow missed it. The Dark Angels army. I had somehow missed it before. It is really cool.
What is it? Tell me about it. I haven't looked at it at all.
Yeah, it's a mixture of Deathwing and Ravenwing, and the basic stat is that all mounted and infantry army units in your army get the transhuman, where if strength is higher than your toughness, you're -1 to be wounded. Just give it to all the bikes. Give it to all the infantry. I think that's cool. There's an enhancement to give. There's an enhancement to give your Deathwing unit first turn deep strike. There is an enhancement to give a Ravenwing unit advance and charge. There is a strat to give your Ravenwing unit advance and shoot and declare a charge in which it fell back. There are what's this one? Oh my god, that's so cool. Leonine Aggression. End of your opponent's charge phase. 1 Adeptus Astartes unit from your army within 3 inches of 1 or more enemy units, or 1 Deathwing unit from your army within 6 inches. Your unit now declares a charge that only targets 1 or more enemy units, and you resolve that charge. So that's not heroic intervention. That's just charging your opponent in their charge phase.
That ability has started to show up, has showed up in a couple places now.
Okay.
In the last, and it is creating an entirely new way of having to make sure you are positioned in specific ways during your opponent's charge phases. Specifically, also has a lot to do. It really affects your opponent trying to move block.
Yeah. Because
there are now just some situations where your opponent cannot move block you at 6 inches, cannot stop you from taking your 6-inch move, because if they do, they die.
Yeah. There's two really cool stratagems here, Noah.
Mhm.
The first one is when your Oath of Moment target dies, you can spend 2 CP to give it to someone else. Like,
Okay.
2 CP is a lot, but that's a neat tool.
Someone wants to be Gilliman. Got it.
Yeah. 2 CP. Each time, and then there's a strat called Lion's Will, which I think is really the power. It's really the best strat here. And it takes a unit that is not Deathwing, Ravenwing, or vehicle, so it's going to be an infantry unit, and it gives them +1 OC and +1 to hit for the turn, which is really good. Hellblasters, people, like Hellblasters hitting on 2 with OC2, pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Also, there's I think a bunch of other potential like units that could benefit from it. I think it's great.
Yep. All right, moving on, because we are meandering, but we're having a great time. Death Guard, no changes other than Nurglings going up, right?
Yeah, and same
Okay.
with Death Watch.
Okay, Nurglings went up for Death Watch as well. Okay.
No, I mean they didn't get any rules changes in Death Watch.
I would like Death Watch to have Nurglings just for people's minds to explode. Drukhari, Reaper's Wager. Give them. Let's just. Hold on. This isn't what I thought it did. Oh, they gave out more AP. I thought they gave out better rerolls. They gave out more AP to. Oh, to Power from Pain. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I scrambled my brain here. That change happened before. The change I thought I was looking for is the Reaper's Wager Rage change, which is Callous Competition Detachment Rule. What it does is it makes it so that you reroll ones to hit. Just in general, rather than spending pain tokens on it. So significant improvement. They also got no point changes. Is that right? Oh yeah, that's right. They got some small buffs. Mandrake's down 5 for 5 models. Raider down 5. Ravager down 10. And Venom down 5. So their transports are cheaper, and it's not enough. So they made Reaper's Wager better. I think Reaper's Wager is the most fun you can have. But I don't think
like
that it is as good. What?
People like that attachment.
It's really fun, but it is one of those armies where if you roll badly, like if something doesn't go the way that 90% is likely to happen, your army falls apart and you have no rerolls and special abilities for the rest of the turn. So it is a high wire act. I don't think it's competitive because of that, and I think that Drukhari needed more help than this for all the reasons that we've talked about over the last several weeks about Drukhari.
I agree.
Okay. Emperor's Children.
No rules
to
changes,
the
but they
actual
did
core
get a bunch
rules,
of
but
points.
many points changes. Oh, and an errata that changed one of the coterie things, right?
Yes, I don't have that in front of me, but
No. I'm mistaken. That it's a points change. Sorry.
okay.
Emperor's Children points changes. Pledge of the Unholy Fortune under coterie went up 10. So
That's
I'm
the
guessing
flip of
that's the one that
6.
everyone's taking. What?
Yeah, it's the flip of 6 you put on a cacophonist.
Okay. Their Demon Prince with Wings went up 20 points.
That makes sense.
Lucius went up 10, and Noise Marines went up 10. I would guess that the thing that is by far the biggest problem in that is Noise Marines up 10.
So all of those things are taken basically in their maximum amounts in every list. So almost every list is bringing 2 to 3 Demon Princes. So that's a 60-point upgrade to every list. Every unit, every army, is bringing 3 Swords and Noise Marines. So that's 30. And then so the entire EC list went up 110 points basically for every single list.
So that's when I said either somebody's getting one more unit. That's beyond that. 110 points is not what I'm thinking when I think of one additional unit. 110 points means this army needs to be adjusted. Pretty.
Yeah. So now they basically lose an entire unit.
Yeah, which is awful.
Well, and when you add that the 15 points actually for that is actually 125 points every list went up.
Yeah, but if they're taking Fulgrim, he's down 20. He's the 1 point reduction.
No one is doing that, but
okay.
I think what we're going to see is someone's going to drop. I think a lot of times people are going to drop 1 Demon Prince, go to 2 Flying Demon Princes, and that last Demon Prince is going to basically become a squad of spawn.
Here's super fast GSC changes. Mike's down 5 points for 5. I'm not enough of a GSC player to know if that matters, but I know that I don't see them in lists. Moving on to Grey Knights.
Oh, hold on. There's a relevant GSE rules change.
Not in the data slate, is it somewhere
There
else?
is. It's very sneaky. You have to look very closely with squinty eyes.
Okay.
The Atlan Jackals and the Pure String Gene Stealer Colts went down to 2 points to regen to rebuy 5 models rather than 3, which is
That is incredibly hard to spot. You are not wrong.
it's very
In
relevant.
fact, I'm going to send a screenshot to Dukes, and I'm going to say, "Did you see this?" Okay, cool. That's a great change. I'm all for that.
I barely
okay.
missed it myself.
Yeah, that was great. There are 4 words changed under Grey Knights. You want to help us with that?
Yes. Oh, the
It's under the hallowed ground detachment rule, which maybe doesn't matter. I have no idea.
so the thing they specifically say is that they've clarified that it's a ranged attack or a melee attack. Nothing else is benefiting from the rerolls, which I don't really think it was, but they clarified that. And then previous clarification added to those is that that it has a target invisible, which means the purgation squads that shoot from behind walls don't benefit from it.
Okay.
This
So it's a
isn't
nerf.
much of a change. This is just clarification, and it's
Okay.
how it was being played anyway.
All right. Brotherhood Champion down 10, Noah. Paladin Squad and Terminator Squads both down for 10. Both down at their 10 mans, 20 points each. It looks like they were getting a discount for buying 10 instead of 5. That's been removed. That's what it looks like.
Okay.
So that might have just been a correction. I don't see anything for Imperial Agents in points. Do we have anything in?
Nope.
Okay. Nothing in Knights, which is not surprising because their codex is really soon.
Votan got a very small but very cool quality of life changes, which is one of the things that was complicating for building lists was, and also for your actual strategy, was that a couple of the really cool units, the characters have these like attached tiny little floaty robots that mean that they are a unit of like 5 or 6 models. So that means attaching them to something means that that unit is not going to go inside of a transport.
It also affects Blast currently.
Yes. So they did not change the blast effect, but what they did do is now all those little floaty robots count as 0 models because they get stowed in the overhead compartment now in the vehicle.
Or under the seat.
Yeah, they've been downgraded to luggage, but that
if there's no room up above, you could put it under the seat in front of you.
So what is really cool about that is it means you can now actually put the characters with the units they're supposed to go with in some amount of transports, which is just like a more flexible way to play the game.
Okay. Necrons don't have changes to their data slate. They have a lot of small points changes. Doomstalker's down 5, Wraith down 5 for 3, 10 for 6. Deathmark's down 5 for 5, 10 for 10. Illuminar Caesaris down 10. Locust Destroyers, the 1 is up 5, but that's because everybody takes it as a 1, so that makes sense. Plasmomancer down 5, Scorptic Lord up 10, Technomancer down 5, and then Awakened Dynasty, the Enigment Dermal Bond is up 15. I obviously don't know what that is. But I've played Necrons a lot because Chuck was prepping them for the 8th tournament, and I just played against our buddy Guy on Saturday. Wraiths are cool, and people are trying to justify them, is my understanding. I'm not a Necron player. However, I do have an RTT win as a Necron player in my past. I like to bring that out and just drop that on the table, that random bit of knowledge. Wraiths being down is cool. The Deathmarks being down is great. I saw those in every list, so I think that's just a buff to Necrons. I'm pretty sure Illuminar Caesaris is in a lot of lists too, and he also went down. The Technomancer and the Plasmomancer both being down seems like quality of life. That said, everybody seems to take the Locust Destroyers and they're up. I'm going to stop talking about Necrons now and let Guy tell us what's actually going on. Most important to you, Colin, the Scorpic Lord with a 4+++++ is now 25 more points. Dude should be 100 more points, but okay. He makes me feel bad, Noah.
Yeah, me too.
He makes me feel Lethal Intent bad. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
me
say
too.
that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm gonna kill that guy. I'm gonna put 800 points of my army into him. Yeah, he takes 1 damage.
You know how hard it is for a 20-man squad of boys to kill that thing?
Does he have a 2-up too?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay. Before I throw up all over the keyboard here, we're just gonna continue on. So that's Necrons. Take it, Orc-Man.
Okay, so um,
I can read you the points if you want after you do the.
I think I know most of them, but I will have you double check me. The big thing is that there's a detachment that basically never got played and had no tournament wins. It's Cult of Speed.
Which is the detachment that should always be good because it's dope.
Yeah, so originally Cult of Speed's detachment rule was advance and shoot. They have just given them advance and charge also now. So now all of the buggies, the Cult of Speed actual models, the little buggies, always advance and charge, always advance and shoot. Considering they're also really cheap, that might be enough to make some type of very kind of aggressive, moving around the table, cool ability army that like puts a bunch of pressure early and does a bunch of crazy stuff. I don't know, but that's definitely like a good improvement. The other thing they did is that previously there was a differentiation in how well trained your bomb squigs were. So tank buses had the least well trained bomb squigs, and everyone else had the best trained bomb squigs. Now everyone has poorly trained bomb squigs. So what it was is that bomb squigs for tank buses got moved to go off on a 3, need line of sight.
Yay!
Everyone else has stayed off, go on a 2, don't need line of sight.
Boo!
And now they all go off on a 3, need line of sight.
Yay!
And then points, I'm pretty sure
The
it's
no line of sight is the part that always made me feel gross as an Eldar player.
in combat.
Like, so I just couldn't. There was no way I could avoid that. Okay, fantastic.
As long as we didn't lose throwing them at you in combat, I'm a cool. Tank Busta, or I know that 20-man boy squads went up 10 points, which I think, which is only because Warhorde was running 20-man boy squads and doing fine, which makes me very upset. So 20-man boy squads went up 10, trucks went up 5, tank buses went up 5 or 10. They went up to 140,
order, which makes it hard for me to track.
Okay, you go ahead.
How about if I just do it?
Yeah.
Big Mech with shock attack gun up 10.
Makes
Boom
sense.
Dagger Snazwagon down 10 to go with the speed freak thing. 20 men boys up 10, like Noah said. Def Coptas down 10 per 3. I love that. Def Coptas should always be on the table. Flash gets up 10 for 10 models. I love that because that unit's a jerk. Custom Boosta Blasta down 5. Ludas up 15 if you want 10 of them. Megatrack Scrapjet down 5 because all of the buggies are cheaper. Rocket Truck Squig Buggy down 5. Shock Jump Dragsta down 5. Squig Hog Boys down 10 for 4. Tank Busters up 5 for 6. Truck up 5. And Zodgrod up 10.
Yeah, so all the stuff that was in the like Warhorde tactical stuff all went up. All
Warhorde
of the
is
stuff.
Green Tide, right?
What?
Warhorde is Green Tide?
Warhorde is the like MSU codec, like index detachment.
But how many points did this affect your Green Tide list?
Actually, less than everyone was thinking. So it was expected I was going to go up like 120 points. I went up, I think, a grand total of 65. And it wasn't even that bad. And then there's some alternate versions of my list that actually went up less. Okay. So in general, I think the Green Tide list actually just stayed really good. So it's not a big deal.
All right. Space Marines. They had a few changes. One is that Mr. Calgar, Mr. Auto Include Calgar, has to be on the battlefield and has to be the warlord to give you the CP. I love that. I think people doing their warlord abilities from Deep Strike is obnoxious. I don't like that at all.
I agree.
The other change that they had is the CP change that we talked about earlier. Everybody who gives you a CP reduction once per turn is now once per battle round. We like that. Points wise, It's really interesting. They said, for 3 aggressors, you should probably spend 20 cheaper. But for 6 aggressors, it's the same 20. So you have to pay a premium to have a unit of 6. I guess that makes sense, except for the fact that I don't actually think aggressors are very good. Captain, I'm also a Space Marine player, for those that don't know. Captain with jump pack down 10, that's always fine. Heavy intercessors down 10 per 5. I love this change. I think that heavy intercessors are wildly underrated. I played them in my what's the conclave, the psychic conclave army. I think that they're quite good. Hellblasters are great in a lot of armies. They came down 5 per 5 guys. I love that. Calgar came down 10, I presume, to go with his nerf. And then Vanguard Veterans down 15 per 5. And then the thing that makes me very unhappy, and I almost don't want to say out loud because I'm worried I'll throw up in my mouth, Bobby G down 25. Really? Really, the auto-include guy? That's a decision. So this is all buffs. That's what this is.
Yeah.
This is buffs to Space Marines. I don't understand it. Gladius has never stopped being terrifying, but played by a really good player, right, Noah?
Yeah, they only got better recently. So
yeah, Gladius has never stopped being good, and now people are also wrecking people with Stormlance as well. So this is a decision. They've made a decision here. And I think the game is, that said, I think the game is at its healthiest when Space Marines are competitive. And when I say, and Space Marines to be competitive have to be better than everybody else, because there's so many bad Space Marine players that pull down the win percentage. So, that's how GW sees this. Oh, Space Marines have a really low win percentage. They're by far our biggest market. We can't have that be the case. To me, that's what this is. But Space Marines were not actually bad, is my take.
You got to support the promotional material, man.
Yeah, no, it's fine. If you ask a game store owner, like Noah, I suppose, but if you ask a game store owner, what about GW product sales? I've asked 2 people, not a huge survey, but what they said is Space Marines, like Loyalist Space Marines, is by far the biggest seller in the store for GW, and second place is Eldar. That's what I've been told for years, and that makes sense to me based on what I've seen in the game.
Okay. So Space Wolves, their points are actually, I wouldn't even necessarily cover the points too much because their points are just the new Codex points. They've just been...
None of them are high. Oh, no, there's lots here. But yes, okay. Now there's Codex points.
Because we don't even know what that means yet because we haven't seen them in competitive setting. So the points are now correct. Build your lists. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
And then no rules changes. No rules changes in the actual thing because they just basically getting a new codex.
Yeah, I am not prepared to talk about our next army.
It's a lot.
Yeah, so Tau has changed, and the problem with Tau changing is much like Sisters, only Tau players will understand what it means. Much like AdMech and Sisters players. So maybe Noah understands it?
So I know a little bit about it. So essentially what has happened is you pick spotting units now. So before what you would do is you would have each unit could spot for another unit. And so you had to really carefully structure your shooting phase. Now what happens is you select a number of observer units. And then for each one of those, you can select one enemy unit to be marked. And then you get your buffs. The biggest thing that it looks like is this paragraph is the main change. I don't actually know exactly how it was worded before, but I understand that this is probably the bulk. It says, until the end of the phase, each time a model from your army for the greater good ability makes an attack that targets a spotted unit, improve the ballistic skill characteristic of that attack by 1. And if the spotted unit was marked by an observer unit that has a marker light keyword, the attack also ignores cover. In addition to that, previously there was a penalty for split firing. So if something had been marked for you and you went to target that thing and then you also shot something else, you had a penalty for that. That penalty is gone. So that's cool. And then it looks like all of the other sections, like the attachment stuff, got some amount of change. So Kayun, which was previously you only got rules for the second half of the game, got updated. They got a new rider. It says, in addition, while a unit is guided, each time a ranged attack is made by a model in that unit, the target spotted unit, you can ignore any or all modifiers. So Kayun now says you don't get a rule till the second half of the game, but you also get to ignore mods for the entire game when you're being spotted.
Which is really powerful.
The 3 unity devastation enhancement. I don't actually see what actually changed. It's got a red title, but I don't actually see any change. And then same goes with the Monka detachment or coordinated exploitation enhancement.
Okay.
Then we have some data sheet changes. Specifically, Pathfinders look like they got a buff, and we got a small change to the Firesight Marksman, which no one really takes.
Well, we have a few friends that are super into Tau, so let's get their take on this and bring it next week, because I think this is a why don't you make a to-do for yourself to chat with Donald about this?
Will do.
And bring his thoughts. He's a very focused Tau player.
How did Tau points get affected?
Oh, that's a good question.
Then our last change after you're done with that is Tyranids.
Yeah, which I am prepared to talk about their detachment. There's also a World Eaters change fact that doesn't make sense that we have to talk about. So Tau stealth, about 3 stealth suits went up 20, so you pay 80 for 3, you pay 120 for 6. That's really a thing. If you want 20 Kroot, it's a lot more expensive per model than 10 Kroot. So that's just wrong, GW. Noah, I need a second.
Okay.
That's effing wrong. Like, okay, Chuck played his Zengor army into me, and he had a 20-man unit of Zengors. And you know what that unit does? Make sure that when Cole gets drawn, I get it. Because unless they've changed it, Cole says, oh, did that unit exist earlier? Fine, still have the points, right? It still says that?
No, you have to actively do it on the turn.
Okay, but nonetheless, it's basically saying there's a card that doesn't work for anyone, and it does work for me, and I put it on a fragile unit. That's what the Kroot unit tells me. And then a few of their enhancements went up. I presume that's to go with the rules changes. The T-Suns points didn't change. This is the T-Suns list we got last week, I think.
Yeah, we got T-Suns points last week.
Yeah. All right, let's talk Tyranids. The changes that you see in the red, some of that is just them getting the stratagem change that everybody else got. The cheaper stratagem on the Tyrant. Psychophage, they want you to play with them, which I think is great because the model's cool. So they changed the move on it to 12. They changed its ability. I don't know how this is different, but I'm just going to tell you what the new ability does. And he has smoke now, which is hilarious. In the shooting phase, after the smallest shot, select one enemy unit hit by it. I think he used to cause battle shocks before. Anytime a friendly Tyrannid unit makes a melee attack that targets that enemy unit, improve the AP by 1. The same enemy can only be affected by this ability once per turn. I think that's actually really cool, stacking a melee AP on people. It reminds me a little bit of the GSC Genes Ridge Runner rule, where you're stacking AP and shooting. It's kind of the close combat version of that, so I think that's cool. Points-wise, the Psychophage went up 15 points to go with this, which I don't like. Why not let him be cheap? You made him cool, so we take him. Why do you also have to put him up 15%? Like, that's not needed. Hiveguard came down 10 points per 3 guys. I suspect they're still terrible with that change. The Hive Tyrant on foot went down 30, which is a lot for a guy that's in every list. Psychophage went up 15, we said. Scrimmer Killer went down 10. I never see him, that's fine. Swarmlord went down 20. I would like Swarmlord to be in literally every Tyrannid army, so that's fine as well. Now let's talk about the detachment, unless you've got comments now.
The other thing I realized is we missed something on Death Guard is that one of the most important changes is in the FAQ, they stopped, they clarified that you cannot do the rapid ingress of 6 inches with the Death Shroud Terminators now.
Right.
So that was a big change.
Yeah, that's a big change because people were like, oh man, I'm going to abuse this.
And everyone else is playing is like, this is not okay. Stop it.
All right, so the Tyranid detachment I think is good, but I have not played Tyranids in a long time. I will ask Dukes, and I will honestly in our Discord, Dukes and I are playing a game on Friday. No, Saturday. We're playing a game on Saturday afternoon. I think it's at 4 o'clock Pacific, and I'm gonna play World Eaters, and he's gonna play this detachment. So if you want to see new stuff, come join the Discord. Come hang with us while we play. And if you do the premium tier of the Discord, you'll also get to see a recording of that game when you've got time. Okay. So the detachment is basically surprise. We were here the whole time. We were in Deep Strike. So each time a Tyranid model from your army makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of 1. That's fight and shooting. Okay, we're off to a great start. I love that as a detachment ability. Each time a burrower unit from your army enters the battlefield, you pick up a circular tunnel marker and you put it anywhere within 1 inch of that unit that came in. Burrowers are like, what's the swarm called?
Raveners, Moloch, and
Ripper swarms.
Rippers.
Yeah. And anywhere more than 3 inches away from the unit. In the reinforcement step of your movement phase, when you set up a unit on the battlefield from reserves, you can go wholly within 9 of one of those markers, and then you only have to be 6 from your enemy. What's important about that is there is no restriction about charging. So that is just setting up closer deep strike charges for Tyranids, a thing that Tyranids want very much. I think there's an enhancement in here to reroll charges as well. So like, if an enemy model ends any kind of move within 3 inches of your tunnel marker, that tunnel marker is removed from play. So what they said here is have reroll 1s to hit, which is very good, and then have a very cool army. That's what they said, and I dig that. It says that you can give Trigons enhancements. That's cool. Oh, I made sure to know that Moloch and Trigons have the Burrower keyword, so that's cool. Trigon, or you can give them an enhancement to Rapid Ingress for free. And Noah, are you ready? It lets you rapid ingress twice on that battle round.
What?
Yeah, it says once per battle you can target the bearer's unit with the rapid ingress stratagem for 0 CP, and can do so even if you have already targeted a different unit from the stratagem this phase.
So they want to be like custodies.
Yeah. Oh, I missed something really important on the way. Now, this is probably a problem with me not knowing the rules better, but I'm pretty sure it says you brought a burrower in and you put a tunnel out, now bring a reserves out, because you get to pick what order your reinforcements happen in. I'm sure they mean that the next turn you bring somebody in from that tunnel marker. Not at all how it's written from my understanding.
No, I mean, it would make sense because that's literally how the demons thing works. The demon thing of like dropping a unit and then creating your bubble of shadow around your greater demon and then deep strike, that's like exactly the same way that it works for demons, so it makes sense.
Okay, all right. It's not as silly as the Bloodletter stratagem, so whatever. They have redeploy. They have the ability to give something deep strike that didn't have deep strike. They have, hey, you're within synapse of me, get some strength and weapon skill. Like, this is just a good detachment in my mind.
If I was going to play Tyranids, this is a detachment I would love to play.
Yeah, it's super neat. It's got uppy downy. It has punch harder. It has bring dudes back. It has add synapse where there's no synapse. Like, it has all the Tyranid tools that I think you want, and it beats on things. The only reason that I think that this would be bad, and I wouldn't know, is if the data sheets that it's relying on are bad. Which I honestly don't know because I haven't played enough Tyranids with Molochs and Trigons to know. But I mean, know they regularly push on those units. They regularly want us to play with them.
I would assume that those units are probably not the best. But I would think that there's a lot of units in that codex that if they get a 6-inch charge out of deep strike, they're very fucking happy about the universe. And so it might be that those units are medium, but the way they enable the army lets all of the other good data sheets do so much better.
Right. Okay.
There's not like a limit. It doesn't say like infantry, right? Like, so they could do a burrow hole and then like the fucking swarm lord could come out of it.
Well, he's not a burrower.
No. But the burrowers could come in and then he could come in at 6 inches.
Oh yeah. And that's why I think that they mean that the token has to be there for the turn, but fine.
What about a Norn? Could I burrow and then a Norn could come out 6 inches away?
Yes.
This seems fucked.
And charge.
Yeah, this seems potentially problematic. I think
Yeah.
there's a list. I think there's a list with a bunch of these burrowers and then a bunch of big scary shit that you don't want anyone near you, or like warriors or whatever, and it just like arrives as a surprise, and then you get charged.
Okay. Horn Demonkin. I
Okay.
wanted to talk about this detachment in detail because I played a gazillion games with it. I've also played games with 2 of the other World Eaters attachments. I wanted to do a World Eaters deep dive. It's going to have to be next week. But I do want to mention that the Lord on Juggernaut guy in my army that goes with the Blood Crushers. So you got the Blood Crushers, you got the Lord on Juggernaut. His rule, his enhancement says, put me with that unit, I'll get Deep Strike with them, and I lose the World Eaters keyword and gain Demon. It's not called Demon, it's called Blood something, right? Blood, I can't remember now.
Sure.
But I gain Demon. Basically, I become a So, I had been presuming that that unit uses the Blood Tithe half of the rules, because in that detachment you have the World Eaters half of the rules and the Blood Tithe half of the rules, and I was presuming it uses the Blood Tithe. They fact it this morning to specify that that unit now has the Khorne World Eaters ability.
So it has both.
It has both, because that unit was amazing. For those that don't know, now it has both, which means it hits much harder than it hit before.
For what's worth, I always thought it had both.
Yeah, I mean, evidently it did. Like,
it was there the whole time.
Yeah, it was there the whole time, basically. No, we were excited about Cult of Speed. Seth says that I missed Cult of Speed disappointment.
No, Cult of Speed, we're excited. We don't know what it'll do, but we're excited.
Yeah, buggies are good, except unless it's that time where buggies were the only thing that could win. Other than that time, I want to see buggies. All right, no, we have just a couple minutes left. Here's what I want to do. Don't overthink it. Biggest winner.
Biggest winner.
Yeah.
What was the one that we said that like everything went down points? Oh, Marines.
Yeah.
Marines.
Already good, now better. Yeah,
I think Marines, and I honestly think probably Sisters is also probably in the running for that, just based on the point adjustments.
And I'd like it to be AdMech. Like, I'm not saying it is AdMech. I'm saying that I would like it to be AdMech.
We got a cool data sheet. We got a weird data sheet that gets to do actions and shoot.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the Chaos new detachment. We don't have time, but
we can do next time.
What?
Do next time. Also, Ravener's got a new data sheet too.
Oh, well, there was a lot, and we didn't get to all of it. Biggest loser.
I mean, EC went up 125 points per list, so that seems pretty bad. They didn't have any points, any like rules smashes, but that seems pretty bad.
To say anything other than Eldar would be disrespectful.
Fair.
For me.
Yeah, okay.
For those that missed the take on that, Yunari was the only thing that was really competitive, and Yunari got nuked from orbit with a triple nerf that obliterates it so hard that it's hilarious. Okay, that's our show for this week. In general, I'm pleased, Noah. I think that, GW always gets some stuff wrong. I think the Space Marine changes are wrong. I think some of the bad armies didn't get enough help. I think Votan got completely ignored pretty much. There's like a bunch of weird stuff.
They can put their guys in the overhead compartment now.
Yeah, whatever. I like an army that I don't see at tournament. I'm now going to see at tournament over that. No. So I just think that GW is always going to miss stuff, but I think that in general they did a really good job here. Is that your takeaway?
Yeah, I think this is good. I think we're going to see some good shit.
Yeah, and next week we will. I do need to make a correction. Last week we mentioned for the Bloodletter strat where you get to teleport in Bloodletters based on a unit dying in the Demonkin detachment. We talked about how broken and crazy that is. There's a lot of ruling arguments on that. So let me tell you this. You don't need to bring it in the charge phase and worry about it charging. You probably can't legally. You don't need to do that. Bringing them in the shooting phase works just fine. Bringing them in at the end of your opponent's fight phase is the best time to bring them in. You guys, the internet, you're right. I think you can't do that. I think I'm wrong. I don't think it matters. The other change is we said that you could use the strat on turn 1. You cannot if you go top of turn, because according to many people, Noah disagrees, and we don't have time for that right now. According to a lot of people, you cannot do that because they're in reserve. According to Noah, the language is completely different and it doesn't matter. Here's what we know for sure. If you put a unit of blood letters on the table and Noah goes first, I cannot be downing that unit and I can use the strat at bottom of 1. No one is arguing that. It is just whether you can use it at top of 1. So correction, sorry that we got the rules wrong. Almost nobody knew about you have to be at there in order to charge. You have to be there at the start of the charge phase and be within 12 inches of someone. Like, people didn't know that. That's what I saw from the internet.
For real.
So I did want to mention that. Next week is going to be a chaos-a-thon. I'll try to get a guest as well. What I want to do is I want to take the 4 new chaos books and I want to do 3 detachments from 3 army lists from 3 different detachments in each of them.
Cool.
3 T-Sons, 3 Emperor's Children, 3 Death Guard, 3 World Eaters. I'll do the World Eaters. Let's you and I talk about which ones you want to do, and let's get a guest for the other one or 2.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do next week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on the most exciting morning, Data Slate Morning. He's Noah Badome, the man with many armies, and I'm Colin Sherman because someone has to be, and we'll be back soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
We love you. We do. With many emotions and feelings. We love you.
Bye.
Hi. I really hope you're enjoying our content. For 20 years, I pushed through an exciting career in enterprise software sales. While I had quite a bit of success and fun, I watched as my interest and drive slowly fell away. Since I was 8 years old, I've wanted to entertain. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep creating and tweaking 40K web shows until I land on the combination that the community just can't get enough of. It's an exciting journey and I'm sincerely having the best time. But I can't do it alone. Would you like to help make my journey easier? Well, there's several ways to do that. First of all, I know that you're told all day long to like and subscribe. That's because it really does help. Please do the thing. Next, you can sign up for our Patreon. We have several levels that might work for you. First, just simple Discord access. For nearly a decade, we've run one of the most positive and helpful spaces in all of 40K. Come find out for yourself. That tier also gets our help finding TTS opponents and can join in on our 2 or more private stream games every week that we do only for our patrons. Up a tier, you'll get all our past recordings of our private stream games. You'll have access to the memes, graphics, and presentations we use on our shows. We have a fantasy football league. We have other leagues. We have a weekly TTS drawing to pair you up with your favorite content producer for a game. And you know what else? If you're all in on this journey and you want to do whatever you can, there's a tier for that as well. Thank you and enjoy the show.